Good day, me mate. I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. Now, why is it when we hear someone speak in a foreign accent, we're naturally drawn to that? We don't have any trouble listening to them, but we often struggle to listen to those who are most important to us, our coworkers, our family, our friends. Listening is probably one of the most essential skills that any leader can master, but very few actually do, including myself. I'm not giving you this Leadership Live because it's something that I have honed in on. My family would tell you that I'm often busy solving the problem instead of listening to what the real problem is. Stephen Covey made famous the statement, seek first to understand, then to be understood. But I can tell you, based on your personalities, some personality traits are really focused on solving the issue more than they are understanding what the issue truly is. I want to do an experiment with you. So I want you to imagine you're a taxi driver, and this taxi driver lives in Hollywood, California. He's called one day to go up and make a pickup, and he picks up someone at a hotel. When she gets in, he kind of recognizes her. He can't really tell who she is, but he knows she's famous. And he says, ma'am, how can I help you? She said, I need to go to this location. There's a video shoot that I'm involved in. And he said, okay, ma'am, that'll take about 30 minutes. She said, I've got to be there in 20. He said, ma'am, I'll do what I can. He said, that's a long ride and there's a lot of traffic. She said, just do the best you can. So they're riding along. He's made up essentially most of the time. And just before they get there, she says, oh my gosh, Lucy. He said, excuse me, ma'am? Lucy, we were supposed to go by and pick up Lucy. I forgot all about it. He said, ma'am, if we go back and pick up Lucy, you're definitely going to be 30 minutes or more late. And she said, I don't have a choice. Lucy's my friend. I told her I would do it. So they go back and pick up Lucy. They travel back. He goes back as fast as they can. They get there about 30, 45 minutes late. Everybody's upset because they come in late, but they know her to be a prima donna, and so they kind of write it off. So listen, you've heard a lot of details in this story. Let me ask you a question. How old was the taxi driver? Now, if you're like many people, you'll say, well, you never shared that with us. But the truth is, it's the first thing I shared with you in the entire story. You'll go back and listen to this and maybe review at the beginning. But the first thing I said in that story is, imagine you're the taxi driver. And if you know how old you are, you have the answer to that question. You probably didn't listen to it because you were focused on the other details, really, rather than listening to the entire content. Hearing and listening are dramatically different. Hearing is simply perceiving sound. But listening, according to Merriam-Webster, is to focus. It's a conscious effort to focus in on what is being said, almost with the intent of doing something about it. And so there is a call to action involved in listening, but the first call to action is to truly be there, to be actively involved. And sometimes the way that somebody perceives that is by the questions you ask. Tell me more about that. What would you say were the biggest issues you faced? If you could have done that again, what would you have done differently? Those type of questions tell someone that you care, that you're engaged, that you're involved. Nothing will really impact people staying with you in employment more than knowing that you care about their success, about the person that they are, and not simply the job that they do. Of all people, Franklin Delano Roosevelt really struggled with the fact that people didn't listen to him. Maybe they were thrown off by the fact that he was the president and they just couldn't get past that. But he said he would say things to people and he noticed that they really weren't listening. And so according to a story I recently read, he did an experiment at a gathering at the White House where everybody that walked through, he decided that night that he would tell them that he killed his grandmother. And so as each person came through and he and Eleanor were in the receiving line, they shook everyone's hand and he would say, I killed my grandmother today. And they would say, fantastic, good to hear. All kinds of responses that made no sense based on what he was saying. He said there was only one gentleman. He was the ambassador from Bolivia. And he paused for a moment after FDR said, I killed my grandmother today. And he said, well, I'm sure she had it coming. FDR said he then explained that this was an experiment and noted that he was the only one that truly listened. You want to be a leader? You want to be a leader that has an impact? Focused in on listening. Listeners are leaders because they care enough to spend their time and invest their effort in better understanding the situation. Be a better listener, then go out there and lead.